So this is my Minegrapht graph mining file, and for the context of the recording, there are people here listening to me, so I am not just talking to myself. There's a little GitHub link there. Most of the code is up there, not all of the code is up there, because some of the files got very large and couldn't fit. So recap, or I guess new information here. Our goal is to create a graph dataset that links Minecraft mods by some idea of similarity using the mod packs and the GitHub data and their dependencies and stuff like that. And so the plan was just to scrape all that data from CurseForge and GitHub, throw it into a graph and see what happens and see what we find. And then I was doing that by keeping a queue of the mods that need to be scraped and a queue of the mod packs, and then just scraping all the mods that are in the mod queue, then adding the mod packs that they're into the mod pack queue, scraping that one, and starting over. So that way it just keeps going. And so our challenges were rate limits. I could only scrape a couple hundred mods an hour, and the pagination, I could only get 2,000 mod packs per mod, which I think limits the data a bit, but like it's still a lot of mod packs. And most mods are not in that many mod packs, so it's fine. And then the big files, they were too big, and GitHub wouldn't let me push them to my repository, and so that's why there still aren't. That's why everything isn't up yet. And then JavaScript promises just kind of suck to like write, and then Python didn't want to render all my stuff. And so the results were I scraped 8,000 mods, yippee! And about 5,000 of those mods had GitHub data, and so I scraped a total of 122,000 users, and then scraped all the mod packs that they're in. And so this was the rendered graph here, which it's very dense, and so you can't really see anything. You can kind of see some mods around the edges. I think these, where are they? These two. You can't see it in this image, but those are both mods that I know of. I think I did the art for both those, and so they are related, and they're next to each other in the graph. So yippee, it kind of works. But that's just a graph of all of the mods as nodes, and their edges are based on people that are opening issues or pull requests or commenting on both the repositories. So if there are more people that interact with both of them, then they will be closer together on the graph, in theory. And then this is just the, oh, same one. This is it with the edges, I think only the top like 5% or 1% of the edges or something for any given node. And so it's easier to see. It's still kind of a mess. I think it's still highly connected. There's only a few separate little components there. But you can see stuff a bit more. I don't know if there's really anything meaningful here, but it is fun to look at. And then this one is the subgraph induced on my mod hex loop and its neighbors. The inducing means that it's just a smaller portion of the graph with only those nodes, but all the same edges that all of those nodes have. I think there's some scaling here, but I don't remember. And so you can see that these ones here, like that one's my mod, that one's my mod, that one's my mod. These are friends of mine. This is kind of a circle. These are similar mods. There's hex casting, also a friend of mine. Then you can see a lot of the create mods up here are all those ones with like the little blue background like that. Those are all kind of similar mods. And so you can see that those kind of get clustered together. And some of them, they're on multiple, they're like uploaded twice because it's forged in Fabric. And so those might just have the same repository. But otherwise you can see like this one, Arsenal Bay, is very similar to hexcasting, which is they're kind of nearby. I think that's Spectrum there. Those are all kind of just a bunch of the popular magic mods. think Minegrapht, CC tweaked is there, CC retouched is there, which are also both related to this stuff because they're all programming mods. And I think a lot of this is just like, this mass is just popular mods in general. But I think it's cool. You can see some relatedness, but maybe not as much as I would like. And then this is the other thing, the dependency graph. So this is a graph where the nodes are still mods, but the edges are directed edges based on if a mod depends on another mod. So if it needs it to like run, or if it's recommended that they go well together, or whatever. And the nodes are scaled up by how many mods depend on them. So you can see a lot of the big library mods, like Fabric is the center of everything. It is all of Fabric there. And so many Fabric mods depend on it. And you can see a couple of the other libraries, Architecture, Quilt, which is kind of like Fabric, but different. Trinkets, Curios, those are also big library mods because they're ones that like change how the inventory works. And then you can see some of the, that's another library mod there. You can see some of the other mods that are big are ones that have a lot of add-ons. So stuff like Origins, you can see that it has like add-on mods to it that are very close to it. It has a few just kind of hovering around. You can see the same with all the create stuff here, create and create fabric, that they have still all their little blue icon stuff all around it. And cube, which is all these little purple ones. Those are also kind of grouped around there. So it does group stuff how you would kind of think that it would, which I think is cool. And I think everything like on the outside here is just kind of like a lot of older Forge mods, or maybe not even older, just Forge mods that don't have any dependencies, which makes sense because you just don't need them as much. But I think it's a cool little graph. Then the last thing is that as a side effect, there's a complete, very searchable data thing for any GitHub user who has made an issue or anything on a modding repository. And so you can just see these are all the repositories that I've interacted with. And these are all the ones that my friend has interacted with. And so you can just look those up and see like, oh, somebody posted one issue in a repository like years ago, and it got collected in the data, which I think is cool. But one of the coolest thing that I think is just how connected everything is. Like, there's only one, in this full graph, I don't think any nodes are disconnected from the graph. So that means that every single mod that got scraped here, if there's somebody that posted an issue or interacted with that repository at all, was involved in its development, they were involved with at least another mod's development, such that you can chain them all into one big graph. And so it's just all very linked, I think is neat. And even in like this one, which is again like 1% of the edges or something, it's still highly connected, which I think is really cool. So that's my presentation.